What is going on, guys? Ultimate Deadpool here, finally back with another video. I've actually had this video planned for a while now, but I was waiting on a certain figure to actually get here. We'll get to that later in a bit. So, we have 4 video game inspired Ninja Turtles, all 4 customized in front of you right now. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through the first or the last one and work our way up to the first one, and go from there. So hopefully, if I'm good at editing things, there will be timestamps in the description if you guys want to see a specific turtle, or a specific turtleized character, in the timestamps. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first off, we have Leonardo as Starkiller from the Force Unleashed 1. Now, before anybody says anything, yes, I actually have played the game several times. I grew up playing that game, and I didn't know that Starkiller's main suit, or skin, or whatever you want to call it, was in fact a dark shade of green, with gray pants. In the game, because not to be rude, but the game is an older video game, and it sometimes shows its age a little bit, at least in quality, not necessarily, or in graphics, not necessarily in story. The story was phenomenal, but I couldn't tell what the suit's color actually was, so I took the knockoff 1990 Leonardo. Took the head and the shell and crap off, spray painted everything black, and then used the epoxy putty to sculpt up his armor up on the front of his shoulders, which is, yes, I know is a little bulky, but to get epoxy putty super duper thin, it actually starts to fall apart. So this was the best that I could do with what I had to work with. And then for his belt area, it's all basic rubber bands wrapped around his body. Same thing for his wrist right here, and his other forearm, holding his lightsaber. And then for his tattered clothes, it's just basic black fabric, cut up and whatnot to make it look more like how it looked like in the video game. And then for his boots, I just painted his feet brown. You'll see later why I don't sculpt boots often. But this is as close to Force Unleashed 1 Starkiller as I could do. He did have 2 swords that I did up as lightsabers to mimic later in the games, or later in the game / Force Unleashed 2, when he had 2 lightsabers rather than 1, but as you can see, the blade snapped off, so I'm still going to be able to use this just as an unignited lightsaber. And then what I did is, after everything was spray painted black, I went ahead and tried to color match the head to the forearm and fingers as possible, because I know Starkiller wears fingerless gloves in the first game, and has his left forearm completely exposed. So this is as good as I could get it. I'm sure there's somebody out there who could have done much better than I can, but with the resources and stuff that I have, plus the sculpt work that I'm actually capable of, this was the best I could do. So let me know what you guys think of Leonardo as Starkiller in the comments below. Okay, now we're getting into Michelangelo as Mario. Very odd choice for a video game character. I'll explain why later in this video, why I even decided to do this, but this is the 1990s knockoff NECA Michelangelo done up as Mario from the Super Mario Brothers games, aka Jumpman, and a whole bunch of other things. It's not that great. It's not horrible, but it's not that great either. Let's start off with the least obvious thing. His hat has the letter M on it. You can't really tell because it's rotating right now, but his hat does have the letter M on it. similar to how it was in the video games. And if you want to get even more technical, since this is a turtle, the 1987's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show where they had initials on their belt buckles. Which is kind of funny and ironic, because I swear I did not do this on purpose to have Michelangelo have an M on his head, similar to how he would have an M on his belt buckle. But anyway, so what I did with this is I took, just like Leonardo, I took the shell off, I took the elbow pads and knee pads off, I took the belt off, took the head off, spray painted the whole body red, or the upper body red and the bottom part blue. That is why you can see some red poking through on his legs, because the whole body was spray painted red at first, and I, quote, got lazy and decided to make my life a little bit easier by painting his lower half blue and then doing the shell blue to match his overalls. As you can tell, it did not work all that well. It's not horrendous if he's just standing there, but when you actually start looking at it and he starts moving, it looks very, very stupid. And don't even get me started on his shoes. I tried sculpting shoes on his feet and ran out of epoxy putty, so this is the best I could do with the epoxy putty that I had. And I couldn't actually go. I went to my local hardware store to get more, and they were out. So this was the end result of his shoes. They're not horrible, especially if, because they're going to be covered up by a stand half the time anyway. You guys have seen in some of my, or one of my latest videos, when I did the Kratos video and a couple others. These guys were actually standing in the background already, so you can't actually see his feet. You can literally just see him from his, waist up. So, I'm not too concerned about it. And then his buttons for the cover, or for the overalls, are also epoxy putty, and they are painted yellow to match Mario's outfit. And then his gloves or hands are painted white to mimic his gloves. And then to keep everything consistent, I went ahead and gave his knee and elbow pads back. I probably shouldn't have done that, because it just makes it look so weird, where you have red, brown, and red. Red, brown, white. So it just looks a little off-putting, but it's not horrible. And then just for shits and giggles, I did give Michelangelo a mustache. So yes, that's not a weird black line that's showing up on camera as he's rotating. I actually did give him a mustache. And then just like everything else that you'll see in this video, his hat is custom molded out of epoxy putty. It's not horrible. I did actually try to use a spare Mario hat from one of the Jack specific Marios that I had, but unfortunately the hat was way too big for his head, and I was not about to frickin' try to make it work, because that would have been a nightmare in itself. So I decided to kill the two evils and just do it myself. And for the most part, it's not horrendous, but this, like right up here on this part of the brim of the hat, is what I was meaning why you can't get epoxy putty super duper thin, or it doesn't really start to work. So, which is why on the armor for Star Killer as Leonardo, the armor is very, very, very thick, because that's as thin as I could get it without it falling apart. And without it literally sticking to my hands and bending itself out of shape. So that's why he looks like that. So anyway, Michelangelo isn't horrible as Mario, and he definitely, I can 100% see Michelangelo cosplaying as Mario for some form of thing. All four of these turtle characters are going to appear in one video. Aside from the one that I was just currently working on, that's why there's nothing in the background except for the characters that are back there now. I was just working on a video before I shot this one, and I needed the space. But so technically these guys are only going to appear in 2 videos and nothing else because of the paint. You'll see why when we get to our last figure in this foursome collection, that doesn't work all that well. And as you can tell on Mario, there's several mishaps where you can see red through here, red up, or blue up here, freaking red all along his legs, and it just they don't look that great. But from a distance, they don't look that bad. Okay, now coming up to my surprisingly second favorite out of all four of these guys. This is Donatello as Springtrap. Which again is funny considering Springtrap is always referred to as the purple guy and Donatello wears a purple bandana. That was not done on purpose. I'm just kidding. It was 100% done on purpose. So, sorry if you guys don't like that little slight pun there. But this dude is sculpted pretty much from head to toe. I'm not even joking. This guy was probably the most time-consuming character out of this entire, I guess you could say, series of figures that I did, because his shell came off, his arms, I tried to make them off, his head obviously had to come off, his knee and elbow pads came off, and I actually modified those. We'll get to that in a little bit. But this was not fun. And yes, before anybody says anything, I think it's kind of ironic that I finished this version of Springtrap before I finished the life-size version of Springtrap for my Halloween display, but I'm still working on that. Just waiting to get the 3D printer stuff more figured out. And then once it's figured out, then I'll be able to do Springtrap life-sized. Because right now he has no body, just a head, organs, arms, and legs. He has no suit. But we're working on that. So, anyway. The shell, painted green. Everything on this guy is hand-painted. So, that's why it doesn't look as great as I would like it to be. But, you know, again, I'm not the best customizer in the world, as you can tell by some of the customized things behind him right now. I'd like to think I've gotten better over the years, but I kind of didn't. So anyway, his shell and everything is all hand painted. His arms and legs and head are all sculpted with the epoxy putty stuff to kind of bulk it up a bit and to make it look like it is a character in a suit. So that's why his legs are unbelievably chunky comparatively to a regular sized leg. Donatello over here is rather large in his legs and thighs. So, and then his actual thighs are molded to make it, or sculpted to make it look like the suit has been ripped away and decomposed and deteriorated and whatnot to make it look like Springtrap's actual legs. And then the actual Ninja Turtle feet were painted and to look up like Springtrap's feet, which is something I never thought I'd ever say again after doing the life-size Springtrap feet video. And then obviously his forearms were molded or sculpted over to look more like the, I guess, gloves or whatever of the suit. And then the elbow pads were painted green to match the elbow pads of the suit, along with the knee pads also for the suit. That's why I had to cut the actual band portion, this portion right here, of the knee and elbow pads off, so that way it looked more like the Five Nights at Freddy's Springtrap or Spring Bonnie looking suit. And then let's go on to his head. By far the worst part of this entire figure, at least in my opinion. I did not like doing his head or sculpting his head out. It was a right pain in the ass, because Donatello's head from the 90s movie had a very weird shape as is, and trying to get the epoxy putty to sculpt around that to make it look like a rabbit was a challenge, to say the least. It's not horrendous. You can still obviously tell who that is supposed to be. But unlike what I probably should have done, I probably should have removed his bandana entirely, but I wanted something to show that it was actually Donatello and not just some random Ninja Turtle. So I just left his bandana on, and then sculpted everything over the head and the bandana. So it's not horrible. It's just not where I would like it to be. Because, like I said, this is just epoxy putty. This is something that you use to fix plumbing pipes, not sculpt out full-on figure pieces. So, it's not bad. It's just, it looks very off-putting. Especially his eyes. His eyes just look so weird. And his teeth. His teeth look a little weird. But otherwise, hopefully the rest of it's not too bad. Let me know what you guys think of Donatello as Springtrap in the comments below. Alright, now we're coming up to the guy who actually started all of this. Believe it or not, this was the first video game Ninja Turtle that I did. And it was actually done on accident. So basically, I ordered the Blades of Chaos for Kratos, but the Blades of Chaos got here before Kratos did. So I was like, okay, well, I want to see how they scale up with a 7-inch sized character to see if they're gonna look too small, because these are actually intended for 1/12 scale, or more or less Marvel Legends scale. So I wanted to make sure that they weren't gonna look too stupid, and I'm like, well, I can't really find Raphael's size. I have since found them on my Lego desk while I was moving everything around in the studio / bedroom a couple weeks ago, remodeling all that. So I did actually find his real size, but I was like, he doesn't have any weapons right now. He kind of looks a little weird. Let me see what they look like in his hands. And I put the Blades of Chaos in Raphael's hand. This is all true, by the way. So if some people have questioned my credibility when it comes to some of my stories like this, on whether or not they're actually true or not, this one is 100% real. 95% of them are 100% real. But anyway, so I put the Blades of Chaos in Raphael's hands. I stuck that and I held it in my hand. And I'm like, why does this work? His expression, his not proportions, because the proportions on these guys were always so weird because it's based off the 90s movie, and they had some really cool suits, but they also were very oddly shaped, or at least transferred into NECA format. They were not shaped well, but granted, this is also a knockoff. So I'm like, okay, well, he's got the Blades of Chaos, and the chains didn't come with it. So the chains did not come with it. We'll get into that in just a minute. So I'm like, okay, well, these look cool. So I wanted to take it a step further, because I was going to add chains to Kratos anyway when I got him in the mail, so that way he could have the chains wrapped around his arms like they are now, and wrapped around so it looked like it's on his gauntlets like it's supposed to. I took some jewelry chain that my mother lended me, and I, made a loop on the bottom of the Blades of Chaos, because there are loops on the bottom here and here. There's some tiny little holes right there, and I put 2 loops on it, put some chain on it, and wrapped the chain around his forearm. I'm like, okay, great. Now what do I do with the other end? So what I did is I unraveled it, took his hand off, made a slightly bigger loop, put the wrist peg through that loop, and plugged it back into the arm. Wrapped the blade of the chain around his forearm. This was the end result before it was painted. I'm like, oh my god, that looks so cool. Okay, I need to keep it like this now. So, and that's kind of what happened. Literally, no joke, the very next day, I got out some paint that I had from another project, and I took Raphael apart as best as I could. Obviously, I didn't take the whole thing apart because I didn't know how easy they were to come apart, which is probably why Raphael is actually the cleanest of all 4 turtles, because nothing on him came off. His belt didn't come off, his shell did not come off, his head did come off, and his hands came off, so I could paint those. But otherwise, everything else was on him while it was done. So that's why there's a few little spots like here on his chest, and some spots on his back and his belt that are hit with red and gray from doing the ashes for his skin and the red for his tattoo. So this is supposed to represent young Kratos from like God of War 1 through 3. That's what this is supposed to represent. And in my personal opinion, it's not horrible. The gray could be a little bit better. This was the gray that I had to work with when I first did this. You'll see in a later video that I obviously did it so much better the second time. But the unarmored version of the Last Ronin, I plan on doing this similar treatment to, because he already has the lower half pantsed and skirted out, kind of like how he looked like in the 2018 game. So, and it's an older version of Michelangelo, so it still technically fits continuity. Young Kratos, old Kratos. So hopefully that's going to be a really fun figure to do at some point. But as of right now, Raphael is going to be this version of Raphael is going to be referred to as the God of Shell, as a pun for the God of Hell, Kratos. So yes, I know Kratos is actually the God of War, but since it's a Ninja Turtle, you gotta have the turtle. You have to have that turtle pun in there just to make it funnier. And one of my best friends from high school absolutely loved this guy, and thought that the God of Shell was perfect for it, because it does blend that, God of War style look, but also the Ninja Turtle style humor. So yeah, no, this guy is going to be touched up later, because I did use him. Like I said, I did shoot a video earlier tonight using these guys, which is why some of the paint is flaking off on his fingers and his forearms and elbows. So this guy's eventually going to get touched up, and then he's going to be placed on the action figure display stand and never to be messed with again. Because it just, to me, this version, this character, this video game inspired character just looks that good to me. Other people might disagree with me, and that's fine, but to me, this is the best that I could do with what I had to work with. And that's it for today's video. So like I said, Raphael was the first guy in this entire lineup, and then it went from Raphael to Donatello to Michelangelo to Leonardo. And I personally think these guys turned out relatively well. For what they're supposed to represent, original video game characters as Ninja Turtles. Which is why I didn't do characters like, PS5 Spider-Man or, Jason Voorhees or anything like that, because those aren't originally based video game characters. Starkiller is an original based video game character. His first appearance was The Force Unleashed, which was a video game. Mario is an original video game character based off of these Jumpman / Super Mario Brothers video games. Springtrap is an original character based off the Five Nights at Freddy's video games. Raphael is based off of Kratos, which is also part of the God of War original character style games. So technically, that's what these guys are supposed to be, is they are original characters from video games done up as all four Ninja Turtles. So let me know what you guys think of these guys down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys all next time on Ultimate Deadpool. Peace out. You guys are awesome. I'll catch you guys all later. Bye.